What the hell's going on in Newcastle, bro? I wake up this morning, I've seen Eddie Howe's gone. Another one. But if you're new here, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Remember, every Monday we'll be having a podcast, which will be with my boy Erkin, Ars and all. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. So yeah, the only way to stay up to date is hit the notification bell. We'll be talking about all the news, all transfers, score predictions, all that good stuff. But anyway, let's get into it. Newcastle United, I don't know what's been happening, but it seems like everyone just jumping ship. First, we had the likes of Isak, Tonali, could be Bruno Guimaraes as well. Walt Marder has been linked to a loan. Some reports are saying it's false, some reports are saying it's true. Then on top of that, we know United have been looking at the idea of bringing Lewis Hall to obviously replace Roberto Carlos, because he's no longer Roberto Carlos. But yeah, everyone just kind of disbanding in Newcastle United. Eddie Howe, I think there's a few things. Now, one of the reasons I believe he's leaving is because all the best players have left. Bruno Guimaraes could be on his way out now. I think Eddie Howe leaving is probably going to give him a bit more of a reason to leave, because Eddie Howe, I think he's done a good job at Newcastle. He's won them some silverware, which I've not seen for so many years. So that's a plus for him. Another aspect is, who do they bring in next? And I'm going to come to that in a minute. We also know that their financial rules, they haven't been making much profit in terms of revenue. Obviously, they've sold their best players and they've accumulated large amounts of money. But because the PSR rules, they can't really spend the big 70, 80 millions like Arsenal, like City, like Chelsea, because the revenue isn't obviously up to par as these other clubs. And that's why I have to respect Eddie Howe in some cases, because he's given them some sort of Champions League footballs, won them a cup, even though they have splashed quite big on certain players. But every window, the hands are kind of tied. Like, they've replaced Tonali or even Bruno with a £40 million player, £35 million player from Monaco. Probably never heard of him that much. From what I've seen, he looks decent. But I mean, look at Arsenal. We're trying to buy Bruno Guimaraes. Look at Man United. They've recruited 2 centre mids. If you look at Man City, they're trying to get Boadi for 80 million. Like, these are huge sums. Now, obviously, are they worth the price tag? That's a different story. But Newcastle are slowly disbanding. And it's a shame, because they've got incredible owners with incredible amounts of money. Probably the richest in the Premier League. But the money cannot be used. The resources can't be used. And I feel for the fans. Because imagine you're up here almost, you're competing with the big boys, you're going for the Champions League, you're winning, a few cups here and there, but now you're regressing. All your best players are out the door. They haven't really replaced Isak, Tonali and Bruno, replacing the best midfield duo in the Prem. How do you do that? You can't do it. And I think that's why it's a big job for Eddie Howe, and he probably just said, you know what? Because of all these rules, because we can't replace these players, and because it's going to be damaging to the club, I'm going to leave. So yeah, it is a big shame. It is a big shame, because PSR, I think a lot of people might agree that it's good and bad. Good because it has a bit of control in terms of spending, but then you can only spend a lot of money if you're bringing a lot of revenue. And then bringing a lot of revenue is if you do spend money, because things like shirt sales, things like winning competitions are, well, from what we've seen now in this new modern day of football, you have to spend money to win. We've learned that as Arsenal fans. The only way to win the Premier League is to spend money. If we didn't buy Gyökeres, if we didn't buy Zubimendi, we probably wouldn't have won the Prem. I'm not saying they're the contributing factors, but you have to spend big to win big. That's how the football game is today. And we've seen it with PSG. They spent so much money just to obtain their 2 Champions Leagues. Man City, same thing. They've had to spend so much money to win their first Prem. And it's unfortunate, because PSR, I'll be honest, I'm still confused on how it works. I know that, the basics, but how do teams like Newcastle, who have the richest owners ever and who've just sold Isak for over 100 million, not able to splash because of revenue circumstances? So that's a bit of a grey area for me. I don't know. If you guys, have a bit more insight, please let me know in the thoughts in the comments down below, because I'd like to hear, a bit more about it. I'll be honest, I don't know. If I don't know, well, this is where you guys come in. So yeah, who replaces Eddie Howe? It's Matthias Jaissle from the Saudi Pro League. Have I heard of him? I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Never heard the bloke in my life. Came from Saudi Pro League, so he's used to having good resources in terms of money, bringing players over. But he's definitely not going to be having that at Newcastle. And I don't know what they probably see in this manager. Maybe he's got great style of football because he has managed him before with Red Bull Salzburg. And he's quite young for a manager, 38 years old, so he's not got huge amounts of experience from what I'm reading online. And it's going to be interesting to see how Newcastle adapt to this new manager. Thankfully for Newcastle, it's happened during the summer break. I think if it was to happen midway through the season, it'll be very, very damaging. Could get you out of competitions early and you can struggle. It doesn't happen in all cases. I mean, we've seen with United, they've switched managers halfway through the season and end up finishing third. But that's only playing one game a week. Not taking anything away from Michael Carrick. But I don't think you're always going to have that luck. You know, Ruben Amorim, when he came in halfway through the season a few years ago, he did okay. But Carrick's obviously had a better start to his Man United career compared to Amorim when he came in. But this is the thing. It doesn't mean you're always going to get the same luck. So it's good that he's starting at this point. He can get his ideas through and let's see what happens. And the thing is, you know, reading records and whatnot, I've even said this about transfers. It's all well and good seeing, you know, a great managerial record or great player record, but how does it translate to the Prem? That's something you need to see. Now, you've got a manager who's never managed in the Prem, managed at Red Bull Salzburg. Not a great team, in my opinion. No disrespect to them, but this is where the critics are going to be out watching for him. What's next for Eddie Howe? Could he be managing another side? Let's say if Xabi Alonso gets sacked. He's one of my managers to get sacked early in the season. Could he replace Xabi Alonso at Chelsea? Eddie Howe plays good football. We saw at Bournemouth, and that's why he got the role at Newcastle. I like Eddie Howe as a manager. A lot of fans said he should be the next England manager. I mean, I did agree at the time, but with Newcastle, you know, the sacking was unexpected. I think if he got sacked earlier on, I think he would have been the England manager before Thomas Tuchel. That's my honest opinion. But yeah, how do you guys feel about this Eddie Howe sacking? Do you think it's beneficial for the club that they've sacked him and that they're moving to a new direction? Do you feel like all the sales of the players have contributed to Eddie Howe saying, you know what, this project is not going to be for me anymore. I think I'd rather take my expertise elsewhere. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe.